Good afternoon, students.
Good afternoon, sir.
Are you hearing my voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Okay, so as a part of uh, ancient Chinese civilization, in the last class, we had certain things regarding uh, religion, mythology, and uh, as a part of cultural aspects, we discussed about the literature and also amusement and various things like entertainment and amusement are like that. Okay, so and before our earlier classes, we also covered about the geographical location and society, uh, and certain political aspects also. Okay, so before going to today's concept, and today I give you about the economy of ancient Chinese civilization. And before going to those things, economy, and I will recap the points what we discussed in the last class with my screen. Okay, so I will share my screen. Please wait. Students, are you getting my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. So, as a part of these political characteristics of the Chinese civilization, uh, we had the things over the hierarchy of various ruling dynasties. Okay, so from Jia to Tang dynasty, from the Jia, then the Qin, Shang, and like dynasties up to the Tang, we had certain things, particularly the important rulers, and from the Han dynasty only we get a concept of the empire, where the overall the territories of Chinese comes under a particular political authority is nothing but the emperor. Okay, so and before the Han and after the Han dynasty, we can divide this political authority as a before Han and after the Han. And before the Han dynasty, it is totally a liberal system, and we cannot see like a unified hierarchy or unified political authority. And after the Han, you see certain unified political authority under the leadership of a ruler or a better to be called as the emperor. Okay, so and we'll see the pattern of decentralized dominions ruled by lords, ruled by various rulers, alternating with centralized rule by an emperor in a, particular a capital city. Okay, so you are well known that from the Han dynasty, the Chang'an became the important city and became a capital city. And you'll see the political centralization, which made the legitimate by the theory that emperor had the mandate of heaven to rule. Okay, so we already discussed in the last class mandate of heaven also, and the mandate of heaven is nothing but a divine right theory. Okay, so we already discussed about the divine right theory. Under the divine right theory, the ruler may be treated as a representative of the god. Okay, so according to the direction of the god, ruler may be act. Okay, so it is a perspective from the common people side. Okay, so they treated this ruler as a representative or a son of a god or like that. Okay, so it's nothing but mandate of heaven also like that. According to the Chinese people, the ruler of or the emperor may be a representative of the god or like that. Okay, so and there is another important thing also we discussed, like uh, from the first time in the world, the Chinese people who started recruiting the bureaucrats, recruiting the officials uh, on based on their merit. Okay, so the merit can also find out with following a written test or like that, which better to be called as a system of civil service. Okay, so the system of civil service, which is a system by recruiting an official, which is started with the Chinese civilization only. Then all over the world, which capture the system and followed. Yet contemporary period, you see each and every nation following the same system. Okay, so and we also discussed about certain things regarding the philosophical concepts and various philosophies which turn into the various religions are like that. And the philosophy of Confucianism, which turned into a new religion, nothing but the Confucianism. And the Laozi philosophy, which turned into a Taoism. And among the Taoism, Yan ism also another one, and Buddhism was also another important religion which turned from the philosophical thought of Gautam Buddha, which propagated in the Chinese territories by the various personalities like Kashyapa Matanga and Bodhidharma, who propagated these Buddhist ideologies in the territories of Chinese. Okay, China. Likewise, these are the things we discussed in the last class. And today we'll cover one or two points, one or two things from the society. Particularly, I will give you how the status of women and how the women were treated in the society of China, ancient China. And after completion of this, again, I will give you the economical things which followed in the ancient Chinese civilization. Okay, so I will give you the situation and status of women because I just avoid in the before classes, and today I will complete this and then I will give you the things relating to the economy and trade and commerce. Okay, so the situation of the women in China, the tradition of male superiority in China was a part of Confucian belief, and it continued from the ancient times to the present day also. Okay, so every civilization you'll see a patriarchal system of the society, and as a part of patriarchal society, they considered the born girl, baby boy was a somewhat auspicious, and neglecting the woman or the girl child. It's a common thing in each and every civilization of the world. The same thing also you'll see from the Chinese civilization. Okay, so which is a common phenomena in it, Chinese civilization also. And the eldest male in the family ruled as an autocrat, and his words are final, and no one can challenge the things which ordered by a male. women were expected to be devoted to parents in their youth and to husbands and husbands family thereafter, and fidelity, chastity, and modesty were ideal feminine qualities, and a woman family provided a dowry to her husband's family when they married, and female infanticide was a common in the times of females also. Okay, so students uh, just wait for a minute. Just I will come and continue my lecture, right? Students.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. I will continue again. Okay. So this is the same thing where we see, like the other societies of civilization, you'll see such things also yet Chinese culture also. Okay, Chinese society also. Okay, so when you see certain important things or certain incidents as a part of Chinese society, and there are certain superstitions also they follow, and whether any unwanted child, particularly a girl child born, uh, 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 they think that the girl child is not necessary for their family, and they can kill those girl child, which is a somewhat a superstition which followed in the ancient Chinese societies. And sometimes they give somewhat importance to the women in the society also. But whereas according to certain Confucianism, and they followed certain beliefs, like Confucius was a reformer born in China at time for a particular ancient society, and he saw in his lifetime some distressing events also, and he tried to seek certain ways people could live together without violent conflict. Basically, basically his teachings are like a such a peaceful and such a relation bound things you particularly see. Okay, so whereas overall his intention only had a peaceful thing they followed by such each and every person in the family, and particularly peacefulness is one of the concept and one of the concept, and another one is uh, there must be a better relation between each and every person in the society, and as well as the person has to be maintain such relation to the government also, and neighbors also. Okay, those are such concepts which propagated by the Confucianists, and these Confucius formulated five sacred relationship in the society regarding the wife, regarding the woman, and wife must obey the husband's order or direction, and children obey the parents, and younger children obey older the older children, and all the people obey the emperor, and the friends be loyal to the friend. And these relationships weren't simply social relationships, and they were sacred and moral relationships, and absolute obedience was common because it was thought whoever does not obey isn't whom isn't human. Okay, so and moral conduct is the important thing from the Confucius teachings, and moral conduct also extended to neighbors and other people also, and people were supposed to avoid friction by being sensitive to the other people's feelings and never causing others to lose face, and courtesy was valued more than any other virtue, and in business relations haste was to be avoided and compromise was valued. Okay, so and Chinese were taught to put on a good face even if someone in the family had died, and this was to avoid bothering others with negative emotions. And Confucius also set forth views on how to emperor and government official should behave, and the emperor was seen as the father of the society and should govern by moral example with the benevolence and humanity and respect for the others. And the Chinese believed the emperor ruled with a mandate from heaven, and cause of this important rule, he should have wisdom and fatherly care for all his subjects. And the emperor lived and reigned in the capital city, where all forces of nature were in harmony. Okay, so the Chinese consider the capital city the heart of the universe, and center for their center for their country called the kingdom. Okay. So, and many members of the Chinese elite took Confucianism seriously and tried to cultivate proper behavior in themselves. And they respected patience, compromise, and moderation. And they worked hard to emulate role models, sages, and superior men. And because they were judged by their behavior, they felt responsible and could not lose face. Okay. Okay. Okay, okay, students. Students.
Sir.
Uh, I will take a break of 30 minutes, and I will continue later. Uh, is it okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I will send you link again, and I will continue the class, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you.